Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It's another day here on the farm and it is mid-fall. So we are full swing on cutting beans right now and it is going pretty good. As of right now, we haven't had any breakdowns since the last video, so going on a week ago, and it is dwindling down. We're moving through fields pretty quick, getting things done as fast as we can. No breakdowns other than there at the beginning, and combine is going along here. So there are a couple things about when you're cutting beans. You can't cut past the dew because just like grass, they'll get wet and they'll get really hard to cut, and that means that you have to quit pretty early. So soybeans are one of those things where you have to really use your time. A term so-called as make hay while the sun is shining. I've heard that quite a bit in my life, and it really does stand when you're cutting beans. So we've had some pretty late nights throughout. So corn is definitely not like beans because corn, it's protected and it can get wet and dew, and you can still run with no issues. And that's just because it's in a full ear and it's being covered from the moisture. And the combine doesn't have to actually cut it, it just kind of breaks the stalks off, so it can run through a lot easier even when it's wet outside. And it helps farmers, especially when they have a lot of ground, like the really big farmers, because they can run until something happens or they want to just be done. Because corn, it's a lot higher yielding of a crop too, so there's a lot more of it from a lesser area than there is soybeans. Soybeans, it's a slow going, just a smooth process, but corn, there's a lot more to it. So I am going to go and dump on this truck real quick. I will catch you guys here in just a couple minutes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I mean about how yielding of corn is a lot higher than soybeans. So soybeans, they average around 60 bushel to the acre, give or take, and that's really not a lot. So you're really just waiting for the combine. As of my point of view, I'm running the grain cart, so I'm just waiting on the combine a lot. But when you hit corn, you can average super high, anywhere up. The average, I would say, is probably 150 bushel to the acre, and that is a lot more than soybeans. So when you get into that and you think about it, that means that there is a lot more to it, and everything is just moving a lot faster. Semis have to keep moving. They don't really have much sit time because there's so much crop being brought off the field that... Sorry guys, I had to go unload the combine. But so talking about what we were talking about, there's so much crop being brought off the field that everything has to keep moving, and it's all like a bunch of... It's like a little army, so to speak. There are a grain cart, a combine, or more, 2 grain carts, 2 combines, whatever. And then there's the trucks that's hauling the grain out of the field. And in a way, if one of those isn't working, then it slows everything down. Because if a combine is down, that could be your only combine and you wouldn't be getting anything done. Or that could be a grain cart, and that means that the grain cart is not there, so the combine has to take time out from actually harvesting to going and unloading into the semi. Or that could just be a semi. Even if you have 4 or 5 semis, one being down if you have a couple combines, there's enough there to keep everything going. And without that semi, there is a lot of downtime with the combine sitting because everything is full. So there's so much there. I'll make a video on corn harvest to show you guys really how it goes, but that's just one of those things where a lot of people don't really think about that, because they think, oh, they have all of these semis, but in reality it's one of those things where you really have to have that many to keep everything going in a smooth, formal way. So, welcome back. I fast forwarded a day, and I'm going to talk a little bit now about some rules that you have to follow when farming. And one of them is DOT, and that is going anything from weights, like on the trailer, to anything from cracked windshields. I mean, you don't really have to have a truck certified to run, but it's one of the things to where if a cop sees that you have a sticker, then he's less likely to pull you over just to check something like that, because in reality you're looked at as to following the rules, I guess, so to speak, because you're taking that extra step just to ensure that you are DOT'd. And a weight on a trailer, that is a really big thing that not many people follow, including me sometimes. But it is one of those things where you can get in some serious trouble with it, just like speeding. And it's one of those things that you're supposed to have a truck at 89,000 to run on the road. But if it's over that and you're going to town to an elevator, it can't be over that. But if you're going to the farm, there is a little leniency in the weights. I'm not too sure on exactly the numbers of that, but it does go up a little bit going from field to farm. And I know a lot of people utilize that, which we take advantage of that too, just to haul more off of the field at once, because the trucks will easily pull that much weight. But it doesn't mean that you always get to. So when you're going from the field to the elevator, or from the farm to an elevator, you are not supposed to be overweight. And we'll move on to speeding now. Speeding is one of those things to where it's even worse when you're in a semi, because they do not think twice about giving you a ticket, and that will take your CDL away from you in the blink of an eye, and that you don't want to happen. So you don't have to have a CDL to run a farm use semi, and that's just called a farm tag, and that means that it's just being used for ag-related purposes, and you don't have to have a certified extra license to run the semi. A lot of companies and businesses do that. All your box trucks that are hauling goods and things for companies, they all have a CDL. But a farm use, you do not need a CDL, which comes in very handy in the end, because it saves a lot of people money, because a CDL is very expensive. They're really good to have because not everything on a farm is considered farm use. So you do have to have them every once in a while. But there's so much to farming, rules and regulations wise, and that's just a little bit to get into details about the trucking aspect of it. And I am going to go a little bit into some videos of the combine and whatnot, just some things here at the end of the video to kind of outro the video for you. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. And it should be corn harvest.